Hey there, and welcome to your First Alert Weather Plus forecast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Rachel Garceau, and as always, we will start with what's on the way, our big picture look at what's headed our way this week. So temperatures over the warm Memorial Day weekend hit the mid-80s. We won't be quite as hot for the Treasure Valley, in fact, the entire area for the holiday itself. That will also usher in some breezy winds early in the shortened work week. However, this is really the big headline in the days to come. Sizzling spring heat that sets in midweek. We are looking at our first round of 90-plus degree temperatures across the Treasure Valley, not just one round, but multiple days where we'll see those temperatures nearly 20 degrees warmer than normal. Remember, typically, as we head towards the end of May, Boise lands around 75 to 76 degrees for the final few days of the month. So we'll be a little above normal Monday and Tuesday. Those highs dip to around 80 degrees, and then things really start to take off middle of the week, flirting with 90 in Boise by Wednesday, into the 90s Thursday, Friday, and as you'll see in our 7-day forecast, very likely beyond Friday into the first couple days of June. So to beat the heat, normally we say escape to the mountains, but the temp trend for our mountain areas, which normally sit in the mid-60s for the end of May, will be into the 80s by Thursday, staying well above average again all the way into the weekend. Much more bearable than the 90s, but it just shows you there's a chance of that heat setting in everywhere. We also have some chances Monday, possibly Tuesday, and again on Thursday of seeing a little bit of moisture entering the picture. That could trigger some high elevation showers and thunderstorms. Doesn't look likely, but it certainly is possible. Nothing to cancel camping plans over, but you know the drill. These spring and summertime months, you get a little bit of moisture in play, can trigger some of those late day storms. All right, let's talk about that upper level pattern, what's coming our way. So high pressure, no surprise if you know anything about our local weather setup. When we have hot, dry weather like this, it's almost always under a ridge of high pressure. So this becomes almost stationary this week. But again, early in the week, a little dip in the jet stream comes in, so this will bring in some clouds, slightly cooler temperatures, and a chance of some thunderstorms and showers to northeast Oregon and the mountains of far western Idaho. Suppresses the ridge a bit, but it rebuilds very quickly for the middle of the week. That will take our temperatures into hot territory for the final few days of May and into at least the first day of June on Sunday. But then we'll start seeing the ridge get a little bit suppressed. The heat backs off a bit early next week as we start seeing slightly cooler weather working its way in, but it does look likely, at least for the next 7 to 10 days, that things will stay much warmer than normal. And hey, as we talk about the outlook for the month of June, it's a little too soon to talk about specific temperatures, but the National Climate Prediction Center has released its temperature and precipitation outlook for the month of June. So across the country, this is their best guess on how warm, cool, or average they expect temperatures to trend. So across the country, where you start seeing the oranges and those reds, that means we're expecting above average temperatures. Where we're seeing things in this white, that means that the Climate Prediction Center thinks those areas will trend right about normal for the month of June. So honing in on the Pacific Northwest and the Gem State, you see these lighter orange colors. That means that there's a moderate chance that we will see above average temperatures during the month of June. Maybe not every single day, but the trend is that we will be a bit warmer than normal. So warmer than normal and also trending drier than normal. So across much of the country, the CPC, Climate Prediction Center, gives a moderate chance of seeing things about average as far as precipitation goes. But again, as we hone in on the Gem State, where we start seeing this deeper tan color, means that's likely trending drier than normal. So a little bit warmer, a little bit drier than average for the month of June. We may not be in the 90s every day, but with those normal or average high temperatures climbing into the 80s by the end of June, things are expected to be warm. All right, let's talk about your futurecast across the country. I know we're entering the unofficial start to summer with Memorial Day, and that means travel season is upon us. So early in the week, things look a bit stormy for the midsection of the country, pretty quiet in New England and across much of the desert Southwest. Here's that system coming in for us on Memorial Day that will bring in some clouds and potentially trigger a couple of high elevation storms. By the middle of the week, we see that stormy weather moving towards the Great Lakes area. Things across the south and the Midwest quiet down. We are very quiet across the west as well, courtesy of that strong ridge of high pressure that will amplify. Heading into the end of the work week, there's a storm system, I should say, setting up across much of Texas and the deep south. Some scattered showers look likely across the Great Lakes and the midsection of the country. Still pretty quiet, though, across the west and the southwest on Thursday. Again, courtesy of that ridge of high pressure, and things get very quiet by Friday. Lots of sunshine across much of the the U.S. A few lingering storms and showers, it looks like, heading into New England and portions of Florida, but otherwise the end of the work week will be quiet, sunny, and warm for most areas. Speaking of warm, let's talk about temperatures across the country. On Memorial Day, we'll be right around the 80-degree mark in Boise, triple digits in Phoenix, pretty pleasant across the eastern seaboard with those 60s and 70s. On Tuesday, we really don't see a whole lot of temperature change. Phoenix is at 101, Redding, California approaching 100. We still stay in the low 80s in Boise, very comfortable for us on Tuesday. And then things really start to amp up across the west on Wednesday. Even Seattle into the mid 80s. We're nearing 90 for the middle of the week in Boise. You can see things in the south very warm. Miami at 90 degrees. Beautiful in Boston, middle of the week with 77. Trending just a little bit cooler with those mid to upper 60s across the Great Lakes. All right, let's bring it back closer to home and talk about your 7-day outlook for the west central mountains, the Long Valley area. Again, I want to note Monday and again on Thursday, there's a chance, slim chance of some isolated showers, maybe a couple rumbles of thunder. Breezy winds will accompany those storms as well, but temperatures will trend warmer nonetheless. By Tuesday in the McCall area, we're in the mid 70s. We hit those 80s Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the hottest day of the extended period in the mountains. Sunny skies, 85 degrees, dipping just a bit on Sunday as that next system starts to come in, and we'll take our temperatures by early next week down a little bit closer to normal. All right, Twin Falls area, Magic Valley, it'll be breezy Monday, potentially into Tuesday as that system comes in. Could bring a few clouds across south central Idaho, but I think sunshine dominates not just Memorial Day, not just Tuesday, but in fact all the way into the weekend. Here's where we end May and kick off June. We'll do so with heat. We're nearing 90 Thursday and Friday. Looks likely on Saturday we could set a record with that high of 90 degrees, and the heat holds on to kick off the new month of June on Sunday. 7-day outlook for the Boise area, trending the same. Some clouds, some wind on Monday. Those breezes could hang on into Tuesday, but with temperatures around 80 degrees, it'll be a nice refreshing breeze. It shouldn't make things feel too chilly, yes. In the mornings, maybe, but in the afternoons, you'll welcome that wind. On Wednesday, we start climbing. 88 degrees on Wednesday, nothing but blazing sunshine overhead. If you haven't yet stocked up on the sunscreen, I would recommend doing it this week if you're going to be spending any amount of time outdoors. Those sunburns can set in very quickly. Thursday, if we hit that 93, which is looking more and more likely, this will by far be the hottest day of 2025 so far. I'm not seeing any records that will be set across the valley. Most of our records are in the upper 90s to near 100 degrees, but still, this is unseasonably hot for the end of May and early June, with those 90s hanging on at least through Sunday. So please make sure you find shade, drink a lot of water, and slather on that sunscreen if you are headed out and about this week.